What an incredibly strange place the world is this week. So I thought, because it's strange, I would try and do something that I find equally strange, and appear on camera doing something. I thought it might be a nice thing for people who are used to being around people all the time to have some kind of social interaction. I'm not very good with being live on video or on Instagram or Facebook, but I can video myself doing things. So I thought, if it's the tiniest bit of help for anybody, I would read a book and just spend a little bit of time talking with you softly and calmly, in the hope that you feel a little more in touch with the world. If you're missing that, if you're not missing that and you just want to have a story read to you, that's fine too. Okay. So the book I've chosen today is called, I don't know if that's going to be back to front. I'm not good at back to front and left to right. It's called The Tiger Tree by Robin and Jocelyn Wilde. I've chosen this one because it was my favourite book as a child. It's also the illustration that I recently had tattooed on my hand by Ren. Fun fact, that wasn't meant to be on my hand. I went to get it somewhere else and then the drawing just fit perfectly on my hand, and I thought, why not? It's a nice picture, let's have it on my hand. And it's been really nice because people comment on it way more than the one on my other hand. They always want to know where it's from and they always think it's beautiful. So well done Ren on the great tattoo, and well done to the Wildes for the original drawing. Anyway, I was a really big fan of this book when I was younger. I think it might be because there's a lot of cats in it, and I don't know what came first, my love for things that are the wrong size or this book. I don't know whether I like things that are all the wrong size because of this book, or whether that's why I like this book, if you see what I mean. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. So, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to try and not make mistakes, but if I make mistakes, that's fine too. And I'm going to try and show you the pictures as well. So I might just scooch a little bit closer. Make sure that you can get all the pictures. I hope they're not going to be back to front. I'm not very good with how these things work. One thing I do remember about this book, I may go off on tangents as I'm reading, is I think it was the first book I ever had that had a paper sleeve on it, and I remember this tiny rip here. I ripped it on purpose because I wanted to be able to take the paper cover off, and I'm not sure why in hindsight, but I really wanted to be able to take the paper cover off and just have it with the plain cover. And I'm really glad that my mum said no, because that would have been terrible to not have the lovely, beautiful paper cover on it. I did cut the price out myself. The price, I do remember that as well. The price was still on there, and I cut it off because I thought perhaps mutilating the book cover in that way might mean that I could take the cover off. I don't really understand why. So this is the first page. And this is Tom. He's the main character, and he's just climbing on a plant on the cover there. And here's some more beautiful. They're very green and very fantastical, and I do like this little ginger cat. It's a very sweet little cat. And obviously there's a lot of tigers as well. Whenever people would talk about the tiger book when I was little, I thought they were talking about this one, but I think they were always talking about the tiger that came to tea, which I've never read, so perhaps I need to get hold of that. It's 1976, so that's the year after I was born. It's very old. And this is the 1976 edition, even though I don't remember getting it. So I'm not sure what age I was when I got it. I wasn't one though. Anyway, my mum probably got it second hand somewhere. So here's the city where Tom lives. There's lots of nice rooftop. I very much enjoy this scenery here with all the backdrop. And there's so many details in the picture already. Like all of these drawings have all got a lot of detail. But there's lots going on down here, especially in the garden. So let's start. It was Tom's turn to hide. The others were already coming. He could hear their voices calling for him. Over the wall he went and into an old shed. He squeezed behind an empty oil drum, his heart thumping. There he is behind the oil drum, and he's found a little cat. An orange cat looked up at him and yawned. "Hello, Puss," whispered Tom. Just as he put out his hand to stroke the cat, he heard footsteps outside and someone shouted, "Come on, let's look in the shed." The cat winked at Tom. "Look at that lovely cat. Oh, reminds me of Tiddles." The cat winked at Tom, sprang across the floor and slipped through an odd little hole in the wall. It was the only way to escape, so Tom scrambled through after it. All around them were leaves. Oh, it's so green. They were up in a tree. It looked like 100 miles to the ground. Tom climbed slowly down. There's lots of birds in this one. I really like the blue tit up here. And there's a woodpecker down here. Little cat. The cat frisked away through a forest of grass, where busy insects buzzed and whirred. I like how the cat's touching the beetle here. Like it's like a cat would in real life. How big they are, thought Tom. Yet he was not in the least afraid. Look at the size of that ladybird. I wish ladybirds were that big in real life. In front of them, the grasses began to bend and snap as if a storm was rushing towards them. Tom and the cat shrank back as a gigantic creature went charging past. I think it might say crashing actually, but was it really only a mouse? An enormous mouse. I like how the cat's arching its back. It's very well observed, this cat. Excuse me. They came to a place where seed pods were popping in the sunshine. It's gone a bit more tropical now. When Tom cracked open one, a swarm of tiny elephants spilled out over his fingers and scurried away. I love these tiny elephants. What a strange place this is, thought Tom. It's nothing the right size. I'm just going to show you these tiny elephants again. I did think about getting this seed pod with the elephants tattooed, but we decided you couldn't get enough detail in the elephants, so we went for the one on my hand, which we'll come to later. He wanted to ask the cat where they were, but it had darted ahead and jumped into a bramble bush where blackberries hung as big as footballs. The sun was hot and Tom was so tired he just had to sit and rest. He caught up with the cat on the edge of a thrush's nest. And there's an enormous thrush, and the size of these blackberries. There he is eating one, holding it in his hand. They remind me of these enormous strawberries that we once had that were the size of my hand. You could hold them like an apple and eat them. And here's the big thrush again with its nest. Tom liked the feel of the smooth, warm eggs. "Let's stay up here and play," he called. But the restless cat was off again. Tom saw the tip of its tail disappearing into a broken egg. There's the broken egg in the tail. He did not want to be left behind, so he followed the cat inside the egg. Let's see where he's going to come out. He followed the cat into the egg and into a land of blue mountains where tigers played on the sand far below. It's really trippy, this page. It looks like an album cover from the 70s, I think, with the yellows and the blues. The cat's tail twitched and its whiskers stood out stiff as splinters. Then it streaked down the rocks towards the tigers with Tom panting after. I don't know if you could see the tiger. Look, they are in the distance now. Away they raced, jumping over valleys, twisting through tunnels, sliding down slopes, until they reached a stream. And I thought it said swam, too deep to cross. Tom looked around for another way, but the cat had found a little boat. The boat sailed away. Oh, that page is beautiful. Just appreciate all those plants and the textures on them. Especially these maple bulrushes, I think. The boat sailed away through a cool, damp cave. It tumbled over waterfalls and glided across silent pools. And you might recognise this illustration because that's the one that's on my hand. A frog stared at them as they floated by. When Tom leaned down and touched it with his stick, the frog splashed in on top of them and sank their little boat. Says you're right for poking frogs there, Tom. The waves spun them round and washed them up on the shores of another land. All about them was a secret jungle. The cat seemed to know the way. Without stopping to lick itself dry, it bounded ahead through the trees. And this is another one of those pages with so many beautiful hidden details. There's a panda in there and a lion. There's a stag, some monkeys. I think that's a warthog there. And then the panda's on the other side. There's a panda and a cheetah. Are they giraffes at the back there, I think? Oh no, it's a zebra. Easy mistake to make. And there at last were the tigers, resting in the shade. They did not seem at all surprised to see Tom and the orange cat. I think I would find that surprising. They stared at them with secrets in their eyes. The cat and the tigers touched noses like old friends. It was odd, Tom thought, how like a tiger the orange cat looked. There they are touching noses, another bit of lovely observation. Tom looking very out of place there in the back. The tigers stretched and sniffed the air. Then together they all prowled through the jungle. I always like this illustration with Tom prowling and trying to be like a tiger and failing quite miserably. They wrestled and roared. It's another lovely one. Look at those tigers, all sleepy. When Tom was hungry, he sat in the trees and ate bananas. And they've put Tom in the tree with the bananas, along with the monkeys, which I think they might have done on purpose. In the evening, he took his mouth organ and played, while the tigers lay quite still and listened. And this is like, I can't remember the artist's name. Is he Gauguin? I feel like not. He was friends with Van Gogh, and he often painted these things. There's that famous one with tigers, and someone playing a flute. If you know who it is, tell me, because it's going to drive me a bit bonkers otherwise. I do remember wondering how long he'd had a mouth organ in his pocket and where he was keeping it when I was little. Always the important questions. After a while, the tigers began to creep away. Tom could see them stealing up into a tree, and the cat was going with them. Or was it a tiger? It was so hard to tell. He's dropped his hat down here. "Wait for me," Tom called. He tore at the leaves and pushed his way through, but the cat and the tiger had faded away and left him behind, lost in the leaves. Oh, that's a lovely drawing though. Then, right in front of him, Tom saw a hole in the tree, and through it he could see the old shed. Sadly, he crawled inside. There was no one about. The others had all gone home, and it was getting dark. Tom hurried to the door, then suddenly stopped. Asleep on the floor was a cat, a perfectly ordinary orange cat. But Tom knew better, for he had been down the tiger tree. If you look in the leaves now, you can find all these faces of tigers stuck in the... Oh no, they're not stuck, are they? They're just kind of represented in the tree. And the cat is somewhere. I can't find it now. Or maybe it's never been there. Anyway. Oh, of course, the cat's sleeping on the floor of the shed. Maybe that's why. And that's the end. And that's the authors. They do have more books, but I've never read any of their other books. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever looked. I might look now. See if I can find them. I particularly like the sound of The Mouse Who Stole a Zoo. That might be quite interesting. But yeah, that's my favourite book from when I was younger. Obviously it's quite short, but I quite enjoyed reading it again. I remember the pictures, and I've looked at the pictures recently because of my tattoo, but I haven't read the actual story. It's very lovely. Now, I don't know if that was helpful to anybody. If it was helpful, let me know, because then I'll do it again. If it's not helpful, don't bother telling me. I don't really mind. But if you want me to do more, let me know. And if you don't, just leave it. Because no comments, what to me will mean no one's interested. I might do it for my own sanity anyway. I don't particularly miss... When I say I don't miss being social, I don't want that to sound rude or mean. But what I miss is helping other people. If I can't be in contact with people and help them in that way, I want to help in some other way. And this was something that I thought I could do. Other ways that I've been helping, and it's made me feel better, is buying gift vouchers for favourite places, because I'm lucky enough that I've got the spare money to do that. Checking in on people who I know who might not be able to get out, who've always not been able to get out, and making sure they've got supplies of medication, or if they've got any allergies. If there's anyone you know in your life like that, just check in and check that if you've got extra stuff and they haven't, pass it on to them. Maybe if you're going to go and buy books or DVDs or CDs to entertain yourself during this period, I know a lot of people use Amazon. I know a lot of people don't like Amazon, but if I could recommend buying secondhand things from eBay and Amazon Marketplace, because those things are very often being sold by real people and not companies. If you try and avoid things like Music Magpie on Amazon, like I sell my old stuff on Amazon, and you'll often find it cheaper, even though it's secondhand, and you will be helping a real life person instead of helping Amazon, who probably got enough money to be going on with. If you can't find it secondhand, obviously there's not a lot you can do about that. But if it's there secondhand, please consider buying it from a real life person, and then that will help them out. Okay, well now we're coming up to 20 minutes, so I am going to leave it there. But I may be back to do this tomorrow, and if not, then I hope you enjoyed coming down the tiger tree with me. That was really cheesy.